And we live. And we live. All right. We about to do it. Let's see. We're going to let some folks hop on while we get adjusted. Hey, welcome, welcome. Welcome, welcome. We're going to let a few folks hop on. I'm so glad you guys are hopping on. Let's do this. If you saw any of the posts, our special guest that's coming on said, have your pre-roll lit, your infused drink ready. So get the vibes together for you, okay? Because I got my vibes going over here. And I might not have infused drink tonight, but I do got a Dos Equis. I'm just saying. We keeping it real tonight. Yes, virtually Kia. Hey, girl, hey. What's up? Telehealthpreneur, hey. Kim the Wellness, hey, hey, hey. I'm so happy y'all are here. And on time. That's what I'm talking about. That is what I'm talking about. I'm not going to hold y'all up too long. We got a special evening. I'm so excited about this, talking about some stuff.
Just wait for it. I'm telling you, you want to stick to the end, let me tell you.
Hey, who has their infused drink? Or who has their square lit, smoke in the air? I'm going to say this now and I'm going to say it again. Disclaimer, this is a judgment-free zone. All right, our special guest and hopped on. This is a judgment-free zone. This is a safe space. Take what you need, discard the rest. Okay? Judgment-free wine porn. I was going to do real. If you're catching this, you might catch this later. Okay? I'm going to be talking because we are going to replay this. It'll probably be on my YouTube channel. Hello, my beautiful people. I'm super excited because we're in the month of March. And if you don't know, March is Women's History Month. Okay? We just left out of February, which meant a lot to me. I deemed February the month of love, self-love. So I did a special affirmations for 28 days. And so for March, Women's History Month, I knew I wanted to have some amazing, phenomenal women doing amazing, phenomenal things, share their knowledge with you. Not just with you, but with me, all right? And so I'm super excited to pop the cherry with Women's History Month, making her story, okay, her story with Dr. Carlie tonight. Let me tell you, it's going to be amazing. And so I'm going to bring her on. Let's see. A little bit about me. Y'all, I am looking to the side because I may squirrel and I don't want to squirrel, so I have a little small itinerary over here. A little bit about me. I am your fave affirmation coach. If you didn't know it, speaking life over your life, nothing but the positive, nothing but what you want to manifest, nothing but what you deserve and what you desire. And you need to know it for yourself. Be confident in everything that you are and everything that you are moving into. And that's what this is all about. And I am representing, if you have not seen, my shirt may be a little backwards to you. It says inhale, exhale, let the shit go. I think it fits tonight because we're talking about cannabis. We're talking about hemp. We're talking about the good high life, right? So inhale, exhale, and let that shit go tonight. All right? So let's go ahead and bring on Dr. Carlie. There she go. There she go. There she go. Representing.
Hey.
Hello.
Hi.
Before I get Dr. Carlie to talking and stuff, I need to read her bio. So Dr. Carlie attended Ohio State University on a full academic scholarship for her undergraduate education before attending Sonora University in Tempe, Arizona, where she obtained her naturopathic medical doctor degree in 2008. She incorporates cannabinoid medicine into her holistic medical practice, where she educates patients on the use of medical cannabis for their health concerns and certifies patients for their medicinal cannabis cards. Dr. Carlie has a cannabis education and curriculum consultant offering services to organizations and universities nationwide. She founded Monaco Natural Health Solutions in 2018, a wellness-based company delivering holistic education products and services. Monaco by Dr. Carlie offer curated luxury wellness retreats, creating extraordinary experiences, don't I know, for our guests. Yes, okay, I got through it. She's amazing and phenomenal. That's what you receive from this. And she's going to share some amazing things with you. So I'm super excited about this. How you feeling, Dr. Carlie?
I'm feeling excellent. I feel really good. I have my glass of wine here. And I also have a little CBD tincture that I've already taken as well. So I'm
down
nice. I'm ready
for
to
it.
go.
So I think I want to jump into a quick story time real quick, and then we're going to go into understanding what this story time means and stuff. Okay, so once again, disclaimer, judgment-free zone, safe space, take what you need, discard the rest. I have had my fair share of being Smokey in the chicken coop, feeling paranoid and crazy, okay? You know, I used to smoke back in the day. It was cool. I liked the vibe. It was wonderful. And then all of a sudden, my body just started feeling like, are they looking at me? Am I looking crazy? Am I doing something? And so I started not liking the way I felt. Then comes along these wonderful, fabulous edibles. Okay, so I'm thinking, okay, she could do this. That's my type of candy. I really like the orange candy. It's orange on top. It's yellow at the bottom. It's got the sugar coat. Let me try. I only took half. Okay, I felt like I could read everybody's mind. I felt like I could feel everybody's spirit. They were talking to me, and I'm like, oh my gosh, if I get out of this high, I will never do this again. And so I have left it alone from there because it just was not my thing. I stick to my beer, my wine, my cocktails, a hookah from time to time. Now, if I could get that hookah feeling with, you know, cannabis or an infused mocktail, I'm down for it, right? So recently, Dr. Carlie and I had a wonderful experience. And how we had this wonderful experience is because she is Dr. Carlie. And I felt safe and comfortable. We went to Wild and we had a wild time and had an infused drink. Okay? And it was everything, would you say?
It was everything.
The thing, it was crazy because I put it in my water and it was Delta 8. I put it in my water, she put it in her orange juice, and want to tell them how it happened? Like, we turn and look at each other and we're like, I feel this, right?
Yeah. Like, it's been 2 minutes and I feel a little buzz, a little something going on. I feel a little high, to use the correct word. So immediately, Lora, I knew that it was a nano emulsion. And so I had never experienced a nano emulsion, but I knew that a rapid onset like that in an oral consumption method would have to have been a nano emulsion. So I went and I asked, I had a lovely conversation with the manager, and yes, indeed, it was a nano emulsion. And so that was pretty interesting because normally, you know, when you consume orally, it can take up to 2 hours before you begin to feel anything. So when 2 minutes passed and you were like, wait a minute, I feel a little something. I said, okay, I thought it was just me. I feel something too, which is highly unusual with an oral method. So very interesting, guys, this nano emulsion process. And nano just means very, very small particles. They break it down into really small particles so that it rapidly absorbs through the lining of your mouth or your mucous membrane, so it hits your bloodstream really quickly. And we can definitely attest that, yes, quick is definitely the right word.
And I felt because I initially said I was not gonna do it. I was like, nah, I got somewhere else to be. I'm doing some shooting and stuff, and I'm scared. But I felt comfortable in the fact that I had someone there to actually walk me through it, talk me through it. We laughed through it. It was like, okay, you know what? I actually can do this. I didn't feel sluggish. I actually felt a sense of clarity and perk up in my body with this, right? I mean, would you say it was in that area?
Absolutely. And the exact same for me, you know, because with cannabis and the various cannabinoids, you can get a variety of different feelings. So, for example, like that chicken coop feeling, right, that you were talking about earlier. We'll talk about why you felt that way, right? So that's one way you can feel it, high anxiety. You can also feel very focused. You can feel relaxed. So you can feel hungry, right? You can start to feel more like yourself. You can start to feel pain-free, right? So there's a lot of different things that happen with cannabis. And as I explained it to you, that's because of our endocannabinoid system, right? And so a lot of people are not familiar with what that is. I've never heard of it. We're going to call it the ECS for short, because who wants to say endocannabinoid 20 times in an hour? No. So we're going to call it the ECS, right? So the ECS, endo actually means self or within, right? So your endocannabinoid system is a system within your body where you have different receptors, you have different ligands, like chemical protein messengers, you have actual cannabinoids. So how the plant makes THC and CBD, your body makes anandamide and 2-AG. And those are the cannabinoids that our body makes. And we know that the endocannabinoid system is extremely important because guess what? It regulates all the other body systems in your body. So you have these receptors in your brain, your spinal cord, in your gut, in your lungs, in your skin, in your reproductive organs. I mean, they're everywhere. They're on your immune cells. You actually have more cannabinoid receptors in your brain than all other receptors combined. So you're looking at serotonin receptors, right? GABA, all of these other chemical messengers that affect our brain. You have more cannabinoid receptors than if you combine all of the other ones together. That's how significant cannabis is for our bodies, right? So remember the big thing, the big picture about the ECS is, remember a word called homeostasis. Homeostasis simply means balance. It's to create balance in the body. So if you're here with anxiety, it can help bring you here. If you're here with pain, it can bring you here. If you're depressed, you're having seizures, right?
I'm so happy that you touched on that, because mental health is one of the main focuses of why I do what I do, why I share, why I want to speak life, why I want to encourage and uplift as much as I possibly can, because I'm talking to myself. I'm encouraging, uplifting myself. We all deal with limiting beliefs, doubts. We all deal with feeling like we're just not where we should be in life sometimes. And I'm glad that you touched on depressed and anxiety, because you know, for me, I didn't get the good feeling, or I guess I lost the good feeling because maybe the chemicals or whatever was happening with whatever kind of weed or cannabis that I was receiving just did not work with my body. But when we had the infused, I felt nice. And it's good to know that if someone is dealing with any mental issues, not to run from this, like this is a holistic route, to look into this, you know what I'm saying? Because my story comes from suicide, losing my sister, and the thought that something like this could actually regulate you better than a prescription pill, possibly. I'm not a doctor. I'm just saying this is another route. It feels good to know that there's someone to reach out, specifically you, Black woman, someone that we can trust. I'm just putting it out there to say that you're actually here and sharing something that is truly for our better health and needs.
Absolutely, you know, and you know, thank you. I forgot to say thank you so much for having me here, you know, tonight. I appreciate you, and I just love, you know, your platform and how you motivate and encourage people to live their best life, to believe in themselves, and you know, to just be encouraged. So it's beautiful. I love it. And so, kind of touching on what you're speaking on, that you used to enjoy cannabis, and then all of a sudden you started getting a lot of anxiety, right? So let me explain what happens. So THC, that's the molecule responsible for the high feeling, okay? It's the primary one. There's a few other ones that are what we call psychoactive, but it's the primary one that causes that euphoria, that high. So THC has what we call a biphasic effect. What that means is at low levels, THC does one thing, and at high levels, THC does a whole other thing. So studies have shown that at low levels, THC is really good at reducing anxiety, actually also reducing pain at low levels. When you have it at very high levels, it actually can make some types of pain worse. And it definitely can induce anxiety. And so unfortunately, even people who don't normally have anxiety, if they have a high level of THC, they can feel anxious. And so unfortunately in our country, what happened was, let's say, or like the 80s, the 90s, your average THC was like 8-9%. Okay. Then we got the idea, you know what, we need more THC. Started breeding the plants to make very high THC levels. So when you see now, you'll see THC at usually over 20% in most flower products. Okay. So this makes a lot of sense why back in the day, you felt really good because the THC average percentage was around 8-9%. Now our flower is 23-25%, which is really quite high and is really too high for most patients and will induce anxiety in a lot of people, not just you and me as well, and a lot of other people. And so it's important to understand the cannabinoid percentages. The other thing around that is if you have CBD present as well. So CBD, it helps keep THC in check. So if you have like all this THC and zero CBD, you're also going to be more likely to experience the negative side effects of THC, which could be your heart is racing, you know, you got the dry mouth, you know, you got the anxiety. But if you have equal parts CBD and THC, now you have a recipe for something that's going to be, you still feel elevated, but it's not out of control. It feels more balanced. And this is why a lot of us in the industry, you can see, I don't know if you can read it, but I have one. This is one of my shirts and one of my gear, some of my merchandise, but it says full spectrum, okay? Because full spectrum, you have 3 kinds of CBD, for example. You have isolates, you have broad spectrum, and you have full spectrum. So isolate is just CBD by itself. They're not very effective, typically, because the plant is made to be used as a whole thing, synergistically. Okay, broad spectrum, everything but THC. Full spectrum, everything in the plant, because it was made to be used in that way. So when you take out active constituents and you're just taking things, you start to get more side effects. But when you use the whole plant together, it knows how to naturally be a balanced product.
I love that.
So,
okay. So another thing we touched on was we had Delta 8, right? The infused. And there was something that you spoke about with the whole idea of Delta 8. You want to share what that vibe is for you? Because it was kind of like a bittersweet moment of us having that.
So yeah, because when we took that infusion, that nano emulsion infusion in our drinks, that is the moment I developed a love-hate relationship with Delta 8. Because I tell you what, honey, before that, it was a hate relationship. Okay? And I believe I probably created a lot of enemies in the industry because I had made this post about just say no to Delta 8. I mean, this thing went almost viral, man. I mean, it was crazy. And so, and the reason why I was anti-Delta 8, I was vaping the Delta 8 pen. And it turns out that I ended up having to, I started having, my heart started racing just uncontrollably. I just be sitting there watching TV. My pulse goes from 70 to 100, 140, doing nothing. I start having difficulty breathing, like just sitting there doing nothing. And initially I didn't contribute it to the Delta 8. I wasn't sure. It's like, what's going on? Something's going on with my heart, my lungs. I had to end up getting, went to the cardiologist. I had to end up getting an echocardiogram. I ended up getting scans of my peripheral arteries. I had to go through all of these different tests with my heart to see what was going on, and everything came out fine. And I stopped using that product, and it dawned on me, the only thing that had changed was I was using that Delta 8 pen. And I talked to a cannabis pharmacist, and I spoke with a cannabis chemist. And they both agreed that it's not the Delta 8 itself. It's not the cannabinoid that can be really dangerous in these products. It's the way that they make Delta 8. And so if you don't use it from a very good source, like if you don't have it from a very reputable brand that has a really good laboratory practices, what can happen, because they make Delta 8 from CBD. So Delta 8 does occur naturally in the plant, but in very, very small amounts. So we call it a minor cannabinoid. And you think about nature, it may be a minor cannabinoid for a reason, right? But it does occur naturally, but not enough to make products from. But because it does produce a high, what they came up with, we had a surplus of CBD out there in the industry, and they're trying to sell it. And so, and of course, people wanted that buzz, right, that you don't get normally from CBD. So they came up with, in the lab, you can take that CBD, chemically convert it to Delta 8. And now you have a product that gets people kind of high, doesn't last as long as a Delta 9 high, because Delta 8 doesn't have as strong of an affinity for the receptor. Okay, so that's why it doesn't really last as long. And so it's the chemicals that can be left over from that process that's really the problem. And I believe I was poisoned from those chemicals that were left over from that process. And so that completely turned me against Delta 8. And so, but as I've kind of, you know, as we kind of journeyed along with Delta 8 and I studied more and I've had some different experiences, like we had at Wild the other day, great product, right? Just not wanting to put it all in one box, right? And being fair and understanding you can have really good products that are Delta 8, you know, to be fair and not just say all Delta 8 is bad, but you just have to make sure it's from a company that's well vetted and has the processes in place to make sure that they're getting rid of all of those residual chemicals that can be left over from the process.
It's another thing that you say that cannabis is not the problem, it's the solution, right? I love that. Okay, because like I said, I was anti-cannabis when that shit started making me feel crazy. But having our experience together, I'm like, you know what? I mean, it's not liquor, it's not a drink, it's not vaping or anything like that. And I felt pretty nice with the Delta 8 infused, you know. Now, mind you, I think we spoke about, we kind of got a quick buzz because we did not stir it in our drink. And so it was kind of like, woo, girls, you know. It was nothing bad. I wasn't scared or like, oh my God, what the hell happened? It still was nice. It just took us kind of quick initially, and then it kind of mellowed and balanced out. And then it was kind of like, you know, I think I'm pretty cool. Like, I like it. I can see clearly now. Yeah. So, exactly. So I like that. So we also saw the Delta 9, and you were explaining that that's even stronger of a product, or it lasts longer, or?
Well, yeah, so the Delta 9, that is, so when you look at the actual plant itself, okay, the cannabis plant is actually both marijuana and hemp, okay, both marijuana, because people kind of get confused, like, what is hemp, what is CBD, what is marijuana, right? So a lot of people, so it's all cannabis, it's all a part of the same family, Cannabaceae family, okay, in the plant world, okay? The difference is marijuana plants, and I don't like that word, but marijuana plants have higher THC levels, and hemp or CBD plants have lower THC levels. So that's the only difference.
So the CBD is in hemp, okay? And then the marijuana is, THC is in both. Because that's what, and CBD is in both. Okay, because that's why I was like, see, you're selling CBD and it's like, is THC in that? Like, I got confused with what is THC, what's CBD. Like, I'm seeing all of this stuff. I literally was in the other room and my radar went off. It was a commercial on, and it was a CBD commercial. And they were like, you can use it for recreational. You can use it for pain. You can use, I was like, I have never seen this commercial before. It's crazy that it came on and I have a live and I'm like listening to what they're saying and they're really pushing it out there. And I'm like, I see this is the next, it's a wave already happening, but it seems like the liquor stores might be about mad in a minute. I'm just saying, because it's a different kind of vibe and it's healthier.
It is so much healthier, you know. And
sorry, I'm sorry.
So I want to answer your question about the Delta 9. That's okay. And then I've come back to the alcohol and the opiates and cannabis and what we see in these industries when we have legalization and recreation and access to cannabis. It's beautiful. So, but with the Delta 9, so in the actual plant itself, whether it's a hemp plant or a marijuana plant, right, it's just about percentage of the cannabinoid that's there. It's the same thing, okay? So you can get THC from both plants, okay? The THC that's in the plant is what we call THCA. That A stands for acid. Okay, so that's naturally in the plant. It does not produce a high. It does have medicinal benefit. Okay, so it's very anti-inflammatory, for example. Okay, so actually, for example, steeping your flour in just warm water and drinking the tea, you're going to get that THCA, which has great, and CBDA. They both have great anti-inflammatory. There's actually been studies that show that CBDA is 100 times more anti-inflammatory than CBD. So let me tell you how you get THC and CBD from THCA and CBDA. What happens is you take that raw plant that has the acid form, when you decarboxylate it, which is just a fancy way of saying you heat it or you expose it to light. So you light the joint, you light the bong, right? You put it in the oven, you making your brownies. Now that acid's going to drop off, and now they are the active form, okay? So now your THCA has become THC, and now this can actually produce a high. THC does still have medicinal value. It can increase appetite. So for example, you have, this is Delta 9, okay? So that's what Delta 9 THC. So for example, somebody that has cancer or HIV who has a trouble eating, okay, it can increase their appetite. So it's also anti-inflammatory. So for example, say somebody has arthritis. It lowers intraocular pressure in the eye. So someone has glaucoma. So there's tons and tons and tons and tons of uses for THC. That's just a few. And so the difference is Delta 9 has a higher affinity for the receptor in your body. Okay, you want to think about a receptor like a lock, and think about the cannabinoid like a key. So you have a CB1 receptor and you have THC. When THC sits inside the lock, THC is the key, the magic happens, okay? So the Delta 9 key fits better than the Delta 8 key, okay? And that's why you have a longer effect and maybe a more powerful effect. And then you also have what we call 11-hydroxy THC. And that comes when you eat cannabis. So let's say, you know, I have my brownie, right? Just had a gummy, okay? What happens is it has to be digested and then absorbed and then metabolized by the liver. And when it's metabolized by the liver, it converts that Delta 9 THC to 11-hydroxy THC. And that's important because that 11-hydroxy form is very much more powerful anti-pain, I should say an analgesic. Okay, so great pain relieving properties. So people that have chronic pain have a hard time getting their pain under control. I do highly recommend edibles because that extra pain relief that you get from that 11-hydroxy form. But it also caution, because if someone has a bad experience with cannabis, a really bad experience typically is from eating it, right? Because the 11-hydroxy form is way more potent than the Delta 9 as well, because it crosses your blood-brain barrier really easily. And so people tend to eat too much. They eat it. It's been an hour and a half. They don't feel anything. They think they didn't eat enough. So they eat more. And then an hour later, they're having a really bad day. So you want to give it at least 2 hours. I say don't eat another edible for at least 12 hours. I have one patient, she doesn't feel edibles for 6 hours, right? Most people, that's long. Most people's around 2 hours. But most people, if the brownie tastes
hard to put it down,
right? They're really enjoying it. They may eat the whole thing. And the other thing, for example, like when you say, I just ate half of that gummy. I always caution patients because that's a very common thing people do. I just ate half. Okay, well, that gummy could be 5 milligrams. So you just ate 2.5. Or that gummy could be 100 milligrams. And you just ate 50 milligrams of THC, which is a lot. So half a gummy or half a brownie doesn't mean anything if you don't know the milligram dosage of that edible. So you have to know how much how many
Okay.
milligrams you're eating with
Okay.
the kid.
Good stuff. Good stuff. I love it. I love it. And so I wanted to go into talking about kind of like the mental health aspect of it, with
Mm-hmm.
helping with your depression or helping. I mean, it's helping with your anxiety, helping with the, not necessarily the kids, but it's, coming out of these schools nowadays. We're going into like, 21. It's legal, is it, you have to be
Mm-hmm.
of a certain age to have the gummies, or is it 21, or what is the age? I don't even know. Okay, 21.
Yes,
Okay, because we're
21.
seeing like the suicidal rate go up higher and stuff. It's so much that we're exposed to now. And, obviously it's been years of, we go to alcohol to cure things. We go to higher dose, whatever kind of drug of your choice to cure things. But this sounds like this is something that could actually help you, with your relaxation to get yourself back on track and still feel good. I mean, how does that happen? How does this happen? I feel like I sound like I'm all over the place because it is a lot happening in our world today, and I feel like everyone is dealing with stuff, right? And this just seems like something that could actually help, but it seems like it's also something that is frowned upon when you say like the marijuana and smoking weed type of thing. It's like, well, okay, you just getting high, you lazy, you eating, and you doing other kind of shit. I'm just being real with how it kind of can be looked at. Okay. And so it's like, but listening to you giving us all this valuable knowledge, this is actually something that can help, take your mental health to the next level.
Absolutely. So several points
Okay.
there that
Thank
I'll
you.
touch on for you. So yes,
Okay.
ma'am, and you were not all over the place. You were very
Okay.
clear. I understood exactly what you were saying. So the first thing is you mentioned the stigma. This is part of the reason I am super passionate about cannabis education, because the stigma that's associated is
Mm,
completely made up false propaganda to help feed the
mm,
industrial prison complex. Okay. So we really have to retrain people's minds on how they look at cannabis. Is very critical. Before 1937, cannabis was one of the top 5 most prescribed medications in the United States for everything we use it for now: seizures, pain, menstrual cramps, anxiety, okay, postpartum, all of that. And so what happened was in 1937, they passed the Marijuana Tax Act, okay? And at the time, there was a man by the name of Henry Anslinger, who was the head of what we now call the DEA, but then it was called like the Narcotics something unit, I forget. But he was the head of it. And he literally had beliefs around black men are seducing white women in jazz clubs, because jazz was a big jazz era back then. Black men are seducing white women in jazz clubs because of marijuana. There was also a large influx of Mexican immigrants at the time. And the government wanted to, of course, keep them from coming into the country. And so they started to associate marijuana use with the Mexican population coming in. So it demonized, right, the black people and Hispanic people using cannabis, even though we know when we look statistically, it's used evenly throughout communities, and even seems to be in the Caucasian community used even more. Okay, but it was stigmatized in that way. Eventually became a Schedule 1. Schedule 1 means that the drug has no medicinal value, which we know is a
right.
complete farce, right? I think there's probably not many plants that have more of a medicinal value than cannabis because of the endocannabinoid system and the over 500 active constituents that are in the plant. And also, number 2, it says that Schedule 1 is highly addictive. We know that cannabis is not highly addictive. Cannabis is less addictive than coffee. And so that all of that, it being a Schedule 1, is a lie. It doesn't even fit the definition of what a Schedule 1 drug is. Now, we fast forward to when we're looking at mental health. Let's say, for example, someone that has PTSD. When you look at the brain of someone that has something like anxiety disorder, PTSD, what we see is they have low levels of anandamide, Okay, so anandamide is one of our endocannabinoids. Remember, we make cannabinoids ourselves. So endocannabinoids come from us, phytocannabinoids come from the plant. Anandamide is one of our cannabinoids that we make. When you look at the person that has PTSD, they have low levels of anandamide. Ananda is Sanskrit for joy and bliss. It's our joy and bliss hormone. So, you know, for example, they call that the runner's high. After you exercise and you feel really good, that's anandamide, okay? So they have low levels of anandamide, and we also see they have excessive amount of CB1 receptors, where that's where the anandamide, remember the receptors like the lock. CB1, anandamide, just like THC, right, sits inside. So they have excessive amount of CB1 receptors. Why is that? That's because they have so little anandamide that the brain says, let's make as many CB1 receptors so we can capture all the anandamide that's there possibly. So it's like a feedback loop. We don't have enough anandamide, let's make more receptors so we can get all the anandamide that's there, okay? Now, the key here with the plant, when you take cannabis, specifically the CBD cannabinoid, CBD attaches, it doesn't sit right in the receptor, it attaches down here. What it does is it inhibits or it stops the enzyme called FAAH, fatty acid amide hydrolase. It stops that enzyme from breaking anandamide down, because your body's always making stuff, breaking it down, breaking it down. So FAAH breaks down anandamide. So CBD comes in and says, don't break down anandamide. So now we have more anandamide hanging out. We have it longer, so we have those benefits. So we see the anandamide levels increase. So the person with anxiety, PTSD, their symptoms improve because of that inhibition of that enzyme that breaks anandamide down. So there's real science behind why when you take cannabis, you feel better, you feel less anxiety, right? The other part of that is also CBD actually stimulates your serotonin receptor. Serotonin is another one of our feel-good kind of antidepressant neurotransmitters, okay? And so are little chemicals, okay? So, for example, when you look at addiction, any addiction, whether it's a drug addiction, sex addiction, food addiction, it doesn't, gambling, it doesn't matter. It's all about serotonin. You're whatever that activity is, right, you're getting a rush of serotonin when you do that activity. Okay, you take that drug, whatever, heroin, for example. So when we put cannabis in the mix, right, which stimulates the serotonin receptors, you see a decrease for the need to have that thing. So, for example, if someone is addicted to crack cocaine and they have cannabis in their system, they have less desire for the crack because the cannabis is stimulating the same serotonin receptors. And there's a lot of research going on now looking at cannabis as a solution for addiction, as an option for addiction, looking at it as a way to help people, you know, get out of addiction. And so, I mean, it's quite remarkable when you look at, for example, your gut. Serotonin has a big to do with proper digestion or proper gut function. And so we see that cannabis really helps substantially with things like irritable bowel syndrome. It helps substantially with Crohn's disease. You have tons of CB2 receptors lining the gut. We've seen that people can go into complete remission from Crohn's from taking cannabis, you know, and so, which is, it's beautiful because you don't really have really too many negative side effects. There's some things, you know, but I mean, it's just, there's real science behind that mental health piece, right? Whether it's addiction, whether it's anxiety, depression, and not only the cannabinoids, but also the terpenes. So the terpenes are like the essential oils in all plants, but we have specific terpenes in the cannabis plant more than others. So, for example, you have a terpene called linalool. Linalool is also found in lavender.
Oh, I love lavender.
And it has a similar peaceful, calming effect in cannabis. So if you see like
okay,
purple haze, right, OG purple kush, anything that has purple in it is usually high in linalool, okay? And so my other favorite one for mental health is called limonene. Limonene is a terpene that's also found in citrus fruits, like lemons, for example. Limonene is what I call my day party terpene. So it makes you feel happy, makes you feel good.
Okay.
It doesn't make you tired. And so it's a natural antidepressant. So anyone with depression, I highly recommend strain time.
He can't hear you. You in my ear, but he need to get somewhere. He's trying to get on this VR. Now, this is live stuff for y'all right here. Boy, give me that. But you talking about that? That sounds like what I want right there. No, you can't. Shoot fly.
Yeah.
Is this part of a product that you can get? Like, is that legal or is that not legal? How does this work?
Well, right. So depending on where you are and what state that you're in. Oh, I love that, telehealthpreneur. Thank you. I'm speaking to the nerd in you, because this is the nerd in me coming out right now. I love it. Because let me tell you, and I'll come back to the terpenes, but just her comment made me want to explain why I'm so passionate about cannabis and why I love this plant so much. Being a plant-based medicine physician, there's no other plant that people come to me and say, this plant has changed my life, this plant has saved my life. I have quality of life because of this plant. I can function and get out of the bed because of this plant. I don't have pain. I got off of opioids because of this plant. It's tremendous health benefit, and it's so significant the way that it affects my patients' lives that I just can't help but just continue to advocate to make sure that all patients have access. And when I say patients, I mean citizens, because even people who use cannabis recreationally, they're using it medicinally. They're using it to reduce anxiety, to relax, right? To get rid of pain. They may not consciously know they're using it medicinally, but they're getting a medicinal benefit. That's why they're taking it. So this whole recreational versus medical crap, it kind of pisses me off, because it perpetuates the stigma, right? Because recreational, oh, you just want to get high. Whereas medical, oh, you want to use it because you have pain. No, right? Getting high has medicinal benefit. Okay, mood elevation, antidepressant, anti-anxiety. So anyway.
No, I love it. High horse.
But I was coming back to the terpenes, right? So depending on the state that you live in. So for example, in certain states, you can be able to walk into a dispensary and say, I'm looking for a high limonene, a high linalool product, and they'll be able to point you in the right direction. What you always want to look for is a certificate of analysis report, a COA. Every product in any dispensary, whether it's recreational or medicinal, will have a COA. It's a certificate of analysis, really like a lab report. But that lab report will tell you what the cannabinoid percentage is, what the terpene percentage is. And so if you're looking for something that's going to make you sleepy, you want to see high myrcene. That's a terpene that's going to be sedating and make you very sleepy. You don't want to do high myrcene during the day. High myrcene at night. If you have anxiety, you want high linalool. If you have depression, you want high limonene. If you have ADHD, hard to focus, you want high pinene. Okay. Now, unfortunately, in a state like Texas, we don't have that option to go into a dispensary and say, hey, I'm looking for this, because they literally only take CBD and THC and put them together in a variety of different ratios. So a 1-to-1, equal parts of both. A 4-to-1, 4 parts CBD to 1 part THC. Okay, that's what we have available in our medical dispensaries. Now, there are some that take terpenes from other sources and say that they'll add. I saw one dispensary where they add a terpene like mix, but you don't get to really pick. It's like all the terpenes, and they just add some terpenes in there. This is why we have to educate our lawmakers, because logically it doesn't make sense. Let me take out all these constituents, then let me add them back individually. You're losing medicinal value. Okay, so it's important for our lawmakers to understand the plant better, so that they can make the laws and the regulations around the plant make sense for people who need to use it. So, for example, someone who has anxiety and wants high linalool, they should be able to walk into a dispensary and purchase something that has a high linalool, right? High pinene can induce anxiety. So they may want to say, I need really low pinene. I don't want any pinene, and I want high linalool. Someone with ADHD wants the opposite. You know what? I want really high pinene and I want really low myrcene. So this is where cannabis is going. It's very exciting, right? Eventually, we're going to get there. You'll be able to just custom order what you want. States like Colorado, Washington State, California, we have a lot of options there. You know, but Texas has a long way to go. And then I'm going to stop after this last point. The other thing about that and making sure that our lawmakers are educated, for example, Texas does not sell flower, okay? Nothing inhalable in the dispensary. This is a problem because inhalation is the fastest way to get relief with cannabis. Works within 5 minutes or less. So if I'm about to have a panic attack, if I'm about to have a seizure, I don't have 2 hours for a gummy, right? If I'm about to have a migraine, I have an aura, I know migraine's coming, or I'm having a migraine. I need immediate relief. I need inhalation method. It doesn't have to be smoking. There's other ways to inhale, okay? And so by not having that as an option for your patients in a medical dispensary, that law is based in the idea of we don't want people to smoke and be getting high. But because you're not educated, you don't understand, we can do a flower vaporizer, heating the flower to a vapor, not the oils, heating the flower itself to a vapor so that it's healthy. And I'm getting them additional benefit that I need quickly so I don't have seizures. So, you know, we have to, you know, like this, the arbitrary 0.3%, you know, no more than 0.3% THC. Why? There's no rhyme or reason for that number in legal CBD. So the law is the farm bill, basically, that Trump passed that allows CBD to be legally sold, says that the CBD, because it comes from the cannabis plant, you're going to have THC there. It's in all the cannabis plants, including hemp. So they're saying the hemp has to be less than 0.3%. Right. Why? There's no scientific reason for that. And so there's just a lot of this is the what's going to change the industry, what's going to bring upon legalization, what's going to change the stigma in the minds of people is education. If we want to see changes, we want access to product, it's going to take education.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. But it's just strange that Colorado, it's legal in Colorado, correct? And Vegas.
Yes, they have a
Las Vegas, correct?
Program. Vegas, yes, has a medical and a recreational program. So there's three types of states. A state that has nothing, right? A state that has only a medical program but no recreational use, and then a state that has both medical and recreational. So like Ohio, for example, is only a medical state. Texas is only a medical state. But most people in Texas don't even know Texas is a medical state. I was speaking to a pharmacist the other day, and he had no idea that Texas had medical marijuana. A pharmacist
that can be prescribed.
That
can be prescribed legally.
Technically, so what we say is because cannabis is Schedule 1, right? Schedule 1 drug cannot be prescribed by anybody across the country. Well, what happens, instead of we saying prescribed, they get certified to be able to use this. So Texas calls it the T-Cup program, the Texas Compassionate Use Program. That's the medical program there, but it's very limited, okay? But it's something, it's a start, okay? So the state has the right to allow for certification for use. However, federally, cannabis is still illegal. So technically, federally, all cannabis above 0.3% THC is illegal.
Okay, well, I don't want to miss out. We're losing on time, and I want to make sure we're going to have to do this again, okay? Because there's so much more.
Yes, because this is just the tip of the iceberg, honey.
I love it, and I know everyone is receiving this. I know they're receiving it. But you also have courses and you have products. So share on that before we have to close out, because I need folks to know that you're not just giving this knowledge here, but they can actually go find you and sign up for something, order something, or, you know, they can really, truly utilize you and receive even more. Okay?
Yeah, absolutely. So definitely my courses. where I'm most passionate. So I have 3 course options, and they're really 3 different levels. So the first course is through my company called Monaco Natural Health Solutions. And it's a completely online course you take at your own pace. You get a certificate for medicinal cannabis 101, right? And it's for anyone who wants to really know, like, what is CBD? Is it safe to use? What's the endocannabinoid system? What is THC? What are the terpenes? That's what that course is for. The second level course I teach at the American College of Acupuncture and Oriental Medicine. I built a 2-part cannabis course for them, where I go through the history of cannabis. I go through all of the benefits of the different cannabinoids, talk about dosing ratios, etc. And then the third level course, the highest level course, is at St. Louis University. It's a post-baccalaureate course where you have to have a bachelor's degree already to take the class. And it's a 4-course program. I teach the third course, which is the medical cannabis course. So I built the curriculum and I teach it. And that is for a lot of the students in that course work in the industry. They may be a pharmacist, a nurse practitioner, and they really need a deep level understanding of the cannabis plant. So those are kind of the 3 tiers of the course. Some of my products, right? I have things like topicals. This is my frankincense lotion, really, really good for pain. I have things like tinctures, right, that you take under the tongue. It's an oil-based tincture. This is my best-selling product. This is a balm, right? It's a topical that you can use for pain, eczema, psoriasis, things like that. So just, gummies.
You got gummies, girl?
I decided to do a line of product because there's so many products out there. You can see them at the gas station, etc. And I want to make sure that people have access to safe products. I source my cannabis from an organic farm in South Carolina. And so, they're just high quality.
Did you say you had gummies
products
too? Y'all heard that? Go get you some real live safe gummies, okay? One last question before we go, because we did have our experience at Wild, and we did record this. We're gonna take y'all along with that whenever that comes out. It was pretty fun, you got real raw with us and stuff. And she also shared knowledge. As I said, we kind of went through the phases that we were going through with what we had taken. But places like Wild, what is that? So everything in there is at a level that it's legal and you can come in, or what does that mean that they actually have dispensaries like this now that you can get infused mocktails?
Exactly, yes. And so this is a really wonderful establishment that is offering really nice and clean products. Now, they're going to be either CBD products, because it's not a medical dispensary, right? It's recreational. And so in Texas, recreational, we can't have like full marijuana products, right? So in this kind of dispensary, it's CBD product, but they have the Delta 8 and the Delta 9 that's derived from CBD, okay? So whereas if you're going to like the medical dispensary, we have 2 of them operational right now. Texas has reopened the applications for licensure for a dispensary. We should talk about that on another one. That's a whole
Y'all want us to come back?
Yeah. We'll talk about that because that's a whole thing. But there's 2 dispensaries in the whole state of Texas, which is interesting, probably why they opened up for licensure. And those medical dispensaries, that's where you can get the full product from the actual plant, right? From the actual marijuana plant. But with something like Wild, right? They're going to have that Delta 8, Delta 9 derived from CBD, okay, where you can get that buzz, but it's legal, okay, because it's hemp derived. And then they're going to have tons of other like CBD products for animals, for people, right? They have nano emulsions that we know work really quickly, edibles, and all kind of fun things. So, so that's really going to be the difference of what you're going to get at a recreational place like Wild.
Okay, all right. Well, this has been so much fun, which I already knew. So much fun and educational. I'm sure everybody receives some great nuggets from this and looks at cannabis in a different flower. You like to call it flower, in a different light now. Not just inhaling and exhaling, but we letting that shit go now. So full spectrum. Yes. So now you know where to find. Look, I love the representation. Yes. Now you know where to find Dr. Carlie at Dr. Carlie. Anything else that you want to leave with? Last words? Last whatever?
Yeah, I say last words, just, you know, thank you for your vision, you know, for this. I love it. I think, you know, the more we can educate our citizens around cannabis and what it really is, what it does, why it works in your body, the more we're going to make progress and have access for more people who need it. So I just want to thank you for that. Make sure that you guys get involved. Make sure that you're contacting your senators, your state representatives, and your federal representatives, your legislature, letting them know, hey, we want access. This is important to us, because that's how change is going to happen. It's going to happen on the legislative level. So get involved, right? Become an advocate. And so we can all sit.
I love it. I love it. Thank you, Dr. Carlie. Until next time, because we will be coming back again. Cheers me real quick. Cheers. Yes. Okay. Oh, there we go. All right. Okay. Dr. Carlie was absolutely amazing, which I knew she would be. Thank y'all for tuning in. I love it. If you want us to come back, drop it in the comments. Until next time, make sure that you are following my YouTube channel, where you will be able to see our amazing, amazing experience at Wilds. And I'm about to hop up off of here. I hope that this was a great live for you tonight. You received it well. Until next time.